Now, as always, we welcome your comments, your criticism and compliments on our Facebook page, on Twitter and on email. Here's what you've had to say about some of the features on the show. We showed you Brian Habana's contest with a British Airways Airbus a week or so ago. Jackie and Zhao and many others pointing out that the South African flag in the ad was upside down. Brand fail, British Airways. Now, a lot of you were quite keen to be dropped in a remote location after watching the Heineken Airport roulette clip, rather you than me. And I think you were mostly impressed with the award-winning Dumb Ways to Die campaign, although some of you did ask who the target market was exactly. Now let's move on. The challenge, I think, for any agency is to find an insight that taps into the human condition. What better way to do this than to find someone who understands the way the human mind works? So let's talk now to Marcel Harper, who's developed a behavioral change model for hospice vets. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. So why does a brand agency need a shrink?
Well, I think on some level, marketing is applied psychology. So I think the question more is why don't we see more shrinks in this field? And I think it's an exciting time right now to be a psychological scientist, to work in this field where we get to apply some of the latest psychological findings to shaping human behavior.
Okay, we're going to talk about hospice in just a moment and what you did, but the broad approach, the setting up of the behavioral modeling, what are you doing?
What we do is we listen closely to our clients. We look at the challenges they face with traditional marketing approaches. With a client like hospice and any sort of NGO or an organization which relies primarily on public goodwill, the challenge will often be that they're in a saturated market. People are inured to messages calling for help and for appeals to help. They also happen to, given their mandate, remind people of things they would rather not be reminded of, their mortality. And so we realized that the traditional way of doing marketing in this particular space would not work for them. And so we came up with a behavioral model which really looked at what makes people do pro-social behavior. Why do people want to give to charities? Why do they want to do the right thing? And it turns out that a lot of things you need to do to get people there are quite non-traditional.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, isn't this just brand communication 101? I heard that you listen to the clients and you find a different way to rise above the clutter. Isn't that what all agencies should do?
The main reason, I think, is that psychological science in the last 20 years has made tremendous strides. We have moved very rapidly in understanding how the human machinery of the mind works. We understand how the brain processes information. And we are asking very different questions now about what shapes and drives human behavior. And I think that allows us to come up with things which are quite different. And when I look out there, I see a lot of old science being applied in marketing, and I think that's why I'm excited to be in the space.
Are we being debilitated as consumers by all of this clutter, that we simply are assailed by it all the time, and we simply have lost the ability to process it?
I think the challenge of modern media is not to debilitate people, because we are basically thrown into the deep end of information overload. And the human mind can cope to some extent, but after a while, your messages will not get through. The brain simply cannot process all that much information.
So hospice perhaps was an easier case. Could you do this for an FMCG product?
Absolutely. In fact,
Would the approach be different?
It would be very different, absolutely. In hospice's case, we were looking at pro-social behavior, what makes people behave in a pro-social way. In FMCG, there are a lot of things you can do in the psychological space. In fact, a lot of the advances made in the application to marketing and psychological science has been in the FMCG space, where we look at why do people make choices in an incidental way when they walk through a supermarket, for instance. What shapes your behavior? What shapes your choice to reach for one thing instead of another? And it's often quite counterintuitive. It's often not what you think it would be. Because most of us would like to believe we're rational people who make rational decisions.
No, of course not. We're not rational at all. Final question for you here, Marcel. Yes. There's a line, surely, between brand communication and messing with my head. Is there an ethical debate attached to what you do?
I think there's an ethical debate in everything we do in marketing. We have to be cautious. The client trusts us with a lot of their hopes and desires, and I think the public out there, we mess with your head all the time in marketing, I'm sure. I think there isn't that much of an ethical debate. I've seen a lot of alarmists speak, of people say, as soon as psychology enters this field, we're going to be able to manipulate you to do anything.
The men with the white coats.
Oh, yes, and we can do whatever we like with you. It's not like that. To give you an example quickly, if I may.
Yeah.
There was a great study done in the late 90s where they had consumers go into a liquor store to purchase a wine. And there were two wines side by side. The one had clearly German lettering, the other one had clearly French lettering and a name which sounded French. And in the background, they played alternatively either German music or French music. Now, consumers who came in there to purchase wine were influenced by the music to such an extent that when French music was playing, for instance, it outsold the German wine 3-1, and vice versa. But we cannot make people want to buy wine. We cannot make you want to go into the liquor store, and we certainly can't make you want to purchase something you never intended to. So I think where psychological science really comes into its own is understanding how consumers think, understanding why certain things in marketing have worked and other things have not worked, and sometimes nudging people's behavior. But it's a nudge, it's not a push.
And marketers need to invest, obviously, in better sound systems. It's good talking to you. Thanks very much for talking to us. Marcel Harper from the agency Space here in Johannesburg. Interesting stuff. Finally this week on the programme, the beauty brand Garnier is hoping to inspire South Africans through its new Take Care programme, wherein it calls on people to not only take care of themselves, but to also take care of others and of their environment. Let's go behind the scenes.
Beauty brand that has been inspired by Take Care. The Take Care program is really centered around nurturing an individual's self-esteem, taking care of others, and demonstrating a genuine respect for the environment.
Garnier's motto is take care. It's more than just a beauty brand to me. You know, it extends to taking care of the people around us, taking care of our earth, taking care of little things, you know, meeting a child in the street and you can tell they're hungry and you've got food in your car or something to drink, giving that child something, you know, that's taking care. And that's what it means to me.
Hi, I'm Zizofeta, the ambassador for Garnier, and for me the slogan Take Care, it initially started out as a payoff slogan, but once I started working with them I understood that they were more than just about the bottom line. They're a company that cares about taking care of yourself, empowering yourself as a young woman, and also taking care of the people around you.
Joe, should I stay or should I run? This scene's been played out a million times. This bores us all. We have nothing left to hide. La 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 la. Good hope brings out the best in us. La 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 la.
My name is Jordan van der Walt, and I'm a Take Care ambassador from St. John's Preparatory School. I may be 13 years old, and so may the other children. It doesn't matter how old you are. We all need to start looking after our earth. People want to help others and the earth, but they don't really know how to. So Garnier has helped by making the Take Care initiative. You can start by buying an Earth Force Take Care bracelet. The bracelets are only 40 Rand and all the proceeds go towards helping the environment. As a Take Care ambassador, my job is to help encourage other people, to tell them about the initiative, to help sell the bracelets, and to look after the earth.
Take care. Garnier.
Well, some useful brand lessons there. That's it for this week. The show is active 24/7 on Facebook and on Twitter. Next week, we'll be in conversation with one of the most influential people in global advertising. We're also going to go big on booze advertising. Thanks for watching and goodbye.
News that moves. ENCA.com.